Now it won't be just by looking at the wall.
Right on there. Click right. The arrow comes up.
Want to click on the arrow?
You click on the arrow. Yeah, do you want to mute yourself? You're not muted now. You're talking right now. And I can hear you, but I don't see you. Testing mute.
Okay, you're live.
Live, okay.
I don't know why.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our December board meeting. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 on December 16th. First order of business, Pledge of Allegiance. Woof. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States
of
of
America, and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Whoops, I got a D. Okay. Okay, so our consent agenda, which includes a variety of board policies, and did everybody get through the board policies?
I did.
Good.
Yeah, I did.
All right. So I'll go ahead and move that we accept the consent agenda.
I second.
So I moved, and James, was that James that seconded?
Yeah.
James a
All
second.
right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All righty. Opposed? I didn't hear anybody. Okay.
Aye.
Reports and discussion. District Lane.
Okay, so before I jump into my report, I just want to point out that we did not receive any public comment via email as outlined on the agenda. If there was, this would be a time to acknowledge that we received that. So just wanted to mention that for the record.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yep, no problem. So then I'll jump into my report if I can remember which tab it is. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. Not that one. There it is. Okay. So for December, just gonna quick updates on a few things. So restoring campus, Belfour will begin repair work on the bus barn July 4th. They'll be out Monday to do some kind of check out the metal and make sure the process that they're looking at going through will be what they need, but then they have the 4th on the calendar to start that work. So that'll be our last of the building repairs that aren't replacing burnt facilities. So we're making progress. Hazard mitigation, trees continue to be the biggest hazard still. Tyee Burwell has been a great resource, tapping into his background at the Forest Service and other agencies. It's pretty great that he has quite a wealth of knowledge in this. So he's been cataloging hazard trees and then cataloging that for FEMA and then for our use as well. We have an intergovernmental agreement in place with the county for surveying. So Chris Lester's been working with surveyors out from the county, and that should be happening here within the next week. Once the final work order stuff gets approved, they'll come up and take care of both the main campus property and then the Blue River property. So moving from restoring campus to restoring some academic support. So, since the beginning of the year, our students and staff have been working really strong in delivering high quality and accessing high quality comprehensive distance learning online, which has been a struggle, as you guys all can attest to, with connectivity issues. Under the emergency wildfire exemption, we are now offering support in 2 sites, one on campus to allow students to access their comprehensive distance learning, and then one at the Holiday Inn Express in Springfield for students who are displaced into town. So we're currently supporting 37 students on campus and an additional 7 in Springfield. So we have elementary age students right now, about 19 of them in 2 cohorts up in the elementary building. And then we have the rest of the students on site in the high school building in 2 cohorts as well. And then in Springfield, we're supporting about 7 students currently. In order to be able to do this, we were following the protocols established through Ready Schools, Safe Learners. And then we have operational blueprints for both sites that have been reviewed by Lane County Public Health. Students really seem to be enjoying having the support, and they're doing a really good job following screening protocol, masking protocol, spacing protocol. And so we expect to have a few more students sign up after the start of the new year. So I'll talk a little bit more about what's allowed this to happen. I was a little nervous, and patients can attest to some of my frantic communications this coming week. But connectivity, we were really concerned. There were some resources that were temporary resources that were being removed from the community. Luckily, the temporary emergency network that supports those orange boxes throughout the community and then the school, that bandwidth has been expanded through work by Elevate Technology. So Elevate is a company out of Bend. Or that has they're the ones that set up the backhaul of the internet out of Bend. They are working currently with Lumen and CenturyLink, and they're supporting CenturyLink's work to restore service on the upper end of the valley. And that work, those upgrades that they did up on the pass, has expanded their bandwidth. So we're able to use more of their temporary network at the school to support the instruction happening at school. So we're really hoping we can get through this kind of the last few days of school. One more day until break. Charter is to be in our area soon. And then over break, we hope to be connected to a 1 gigabit per second connection through Charter Spectrum. So talking more about those assets that were removed, there's been a few struggles with connectivity in the community. So students who are accessing their online learning through those Verizon cellular hotspots, that's been kind of a challenge if they've been working from home. But for the most part, from what I'm hearing, people are still finding ways to connect and finish strong until break. So I put it on your radar. Lacey Joy and I met with Matt Sayre from Onward Eugene and Jeff Turner from Elevate. We're discussing collaborating on a grant to expand internet offerings in the area through the US Ignite grant. It's one that Matt has a lot of background with, has been fairly successful with. And what it would be is working with Elevate to provide a proof of concept to a LTE kind of wireless internet connection. So then it would be still the microwave backhaul from Bend providing a lot of the connectivity, but then in the local area in the valley, this bandwidth that they need, they're hoping to work with. It's the Citizens Radio Band. I think it's CRB. I think it's what it's called. Patients, you can correct me. It's supposed to do a better job at penetrating like trees and the obstacles, and we have a lot of those here. So it's one avenue to look at to try to provide more internet in the area. And then is working with them would allow us to have another connection that they'd like to establish with another public agency to provide redundancy to. So that work would then allow us to have a redundant east-west internet connection. So the fun thing about working with a lot of really smart people around a problem is they come up with a lot of solutions. The part that's tough to navigate is there's a lot of different solutions. Patients can attest to that. So there's a lot of really good solutions. So then trying to figure out what's the best for the district while keeping in mind what can help support what's best for the community has been an interesting challenge that I'm learning a whole lot about. So I know a lot more about tech and connectivity. I learned a lot about that. Elaine, you had a question?
Yeah, so would that program then still just be temporary, or is this like a solution?
No, so that would allow Elevate to have a connection here in the valley. So I imagine that would then, depending on how well it works, it would allow them to decide to offer that and then maybe replicate that in other places in the valley as well. So yeah, I think that would be a way to get another permanent connection.
And you say that's a grant application that you guys are working on?
Yeah, it's one that we're carving up. We'll meet again on Monday to talk more about what elements we all need to bring in. Like Lacey and I can, Lacey can really do a great job of explaining, demographics in the district and everybody. I could offer a little bit of narrative about the situation, about the tech specs of everything. We're lost, so that's when we'll lean on Matt and Jeff to add those elements in.
So on Friday, when we meet with at noon, our lunch conversation, this would be a really good topic to bring up. Did you say US Night grant?
Ignite, like lighting it.
Thank you.
And I can shoot you which program it is. It's one that's like Operation or Project Overcome.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is what that one's called.
I have a meeting with Austin Ramirez from our economic development to talk about that project that you told me about. So, and that's Friday as well.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. It's just being patient's tough. So let's see. So yeah, so kind of dovetailing on what Patience spoke about. So submitted testimony to Senator Prozanski regarding some of the solutions that we'd already talked about previously, like the tower, working with other local government agencies to provide fiber connection, working with another microwave provider from Eugene, kind of those things that we talked about previously. So that has been submitted to as testimony. So we'll just kind of see what happens. It should be something that comes out of this legislative special session that they're putting forward, and hopefully we'll get some of the funds earmarked to restore our connectivity. Another thing to be looking out for in this special session that's coming up that really could really help us out a lot, honestly, is the liability protection for schools during the pandemic that they're considering. I'm sure you guys have seen communications from OSBA about that. So if you haven't spoke with our legislators, feel free to remind them that this is really a pressing thing. When I spoke to Senator Prozanski's office, it's on their radar, and they're going to work for us. So yeah, so we'll see. That could be another good thing to come out of this special session. We received another amazing donation. The Hope Project worked with us to get 2 vans to replace ones that were damaged during the fire. So we have a new 8-passenger Ford Transit Connect, so a smaller one, and then a 2018 15-passenger Ford Transit, so a bigger one. Picked up the bigger one today. It was pretty nice. We're excited. So the Hope Project were great. They purchased the first van flat out for us, and that's all done. And then the second one, to kind of help us afford something better with some funds that we had, they really added a bigger donation to make it so we could purchase a better vehicle that fit our needs than we could afford with funds on hand. So, just it's really amazing the generosity that's come up out of this situation, and we just really appreciate the Hope Project. And then Kendall Group was pretty good to work with as well. So, so then on Friday, the lunch meeting at Patience was speaking about, we'll be speaking with Senator Wyden and his staff to discuss infrastructure reliability. And so it should be fun. It's Patience has way more knowledge in this regard. I can only speak to kind of what we're experiencing locally within the district, but it just was nice to be asked to share some of that information. So I'll update you next time on how that went. Then also as a reminder, just remember that we are still serving as a community resource. We are still the host of the Blue River Relief Center, and the post office is now on the backside of the high school. If you haven't been able to visit in the old after school club building, they seem to really like having more space. So that is my report for December.
All right. I don't know if you didn't really mention this, Lane, but what's the, I guess, sort of timeline about bringing kids back into the classroom? Or are we going to do CDL for the rest of the year? Is that dependent on Governor Brown? Is that dependent on, I mean, I guess kind of what's our current long-term, or I guess short-term plan?
So I think the challenge that we're still, that's kind of tough to crack right now is it's not just, we're not just dealing with COVID, we're dealing with also a split student body. And so finding a way to see, I think we first need to see how this works, supporting them through CDL, because even if we do open up campus again without without having, you know, the COVID vaccine or something else, transportation's the big question that we're not getting a whole lot of good answers about, besides, oh, make sure you have the windows open. So if there's a safe way that we can talk about transporting, you know, those town kids either up, that we all feel comfortable with, that would be a solution, or working with staff to figure out, you know, comfort levels about teaching not only kids online, but kids in front of them, which would be a whole other challenge that we really need to look at and see if there's good models of folks that are doing that. So so there isn't a hard timeline yet. So we'll see.
Lane, how many kids are still in town?
Oh shoot, I think there's still close to 50,
Oh,
you know, and I haven't updated numbers. I know folks are moving back up little by little onto trailers, onto their property as they can. So it's a substantial portion. We're not seeing a lot of them showing up at the Springfield site yet, but I imagine we'll see, you know, as the year goes on into the new year, some of that growing. I think some, you know, because of the better internet access in town, I think a lot of families are making do with accessing internet from wherever they're at and trying to minimize exposure.
okay, thanks.
So really, it's not necessarily COVID related stuff. It's more fire related stuff, because a lot of our families are still displaced all over the place, and there's no place for them to come back home to yet.
Yeah, I think like it's, you know, we're a little ways out from the, you know, the emergency fire incident, you know, but I think Patience probably has better numbers than I do. But I think there's still like 180 members of our community that are still in temporary housing, you know.
Right.
So it's them, we're going to feel these impacts for a while.
Quite a while, right? Okay.
So it's just trying to find the best way to serve our students as spread out as we can, as safely as we can, you know.
One of the things we're working on here at the county level is putting together a formal request to FEMA for a direct housing mission that we were early on denied. Douglas County was also denied a FEMA housing mission, and we're really trying to get some houses, FEMA houses, put back into the community so that people can re-enter places where they live, work, and play. There's been a significant impact to the volunteer firefighter resource that's now been displaced. I reached out to Lane and asked him for the staff displacement as well as student displacement numbers, so demographics, to really help inform that letter and lobby for the reasons why we do need support with the FEMA housing mission. That's not to say it's going to be 75 mobile homes, but it could be 10 to 15 mobile homes that bring back a significant population to repopulate the school, keep the Forest Service running, keep the grocery store running, those lodges employing, keep the economy running. So we're going to take another run at it with a different lens.
Where are they looking to place those at? Or would they scatter them about, or would they
We're
pick a
still
central
very,
location?
we're still very much in discussions. You know, the FEMA will only put them in places that are safe. So if there's any flood risk, any landslide slope susceptibility, they won't put any assets there. So that limits, you know, where we can put.
Yeah, a lot.
Right.
Lane,
Go ahead, Julie, yeah.
I got just another quick question about the charter spectrum coming. Is that just going to, again, that's just a temporary part that's just going to make your guys' life a little easier or a lot easier?
Oh, it'll make things a lot easier. And that would be, I think we're going to sign like a year, agreement with them, contract to give us some time to figure out these kind of medium and long term kind of solutions we're talking about. But yeah, that'll definitely make we'll have phones again. Not just the office phones. We'll have more bandwidth than we did even before the fire. So yeah, it could open a lot of options for us and make life a lot easier.
Have they given you a timeline?
They are saying McKenzie Bridge by Christmas.
Oh,
So anytime like next week, I think they should be. But it matters. Jason, if you're still the fly on the wall, you might be able to speak a little bit more to what you've heard as you've talked with folks, if you'd like.
So I have a couple of different information sources. One is a charter surveyor named Dustin, who Alyssa has also worked with. And he is saying he's been in direct contact with the contractor they're using to do their fiber build up on the 126 corridor. And he's the one that said they want to get the McKenzie Bridge fiber lit back up by Christmas. And the contractor hopes to have it done before that. So that's coming pretty much secondhand directly from the contracting crew. Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah, so then tell them what you heard.
When the lights actually come on.
yeah.
So you get guys on the ground are giving you those figures. There's people in the office don't have they're not as optimistic, but I think they have to kind of hedge their bets. But
Yeah.
I'm betting on we'll have it here pretty soon because I have to. We got to have it. Any other questions? You guys have good questions this month?
Have we had any students? Are we about the same student-wise enrollment as we were last month?
Yeah, we're hanging there at that 200, around 200. It's good. There's a lot of folks that are all over the place though too. So I think, right now it feels good that we only lost as many as we have. I think they'll be prepared as we're get further and further away from this. If folks find, better, not better, but different situations that they need to do, the medium and long term to live. So I'm optimistic that we're not going to lose very many, but then don't be surprised if as we keep going throughout the year, as people find places to land until more things come back, we might dip a little bit more. So I want to sound very optimistic and hopeful that that'll be it, but don't be surprised if, we lose a few folks until, we can get more homes in place.
All right. And then Lane, under kind of a subheading underneath the report, it says bargaining committees.
Oh yeah, thanks for the reminder. So because we did the natural timeline for the certified association MEA, their contract ends this year. And that's just kind of the natural cycle. We usually try to stagger them so we don't have to do both the same year. But last year we agreed to a year kind of rollover for OSCA that was happening in the middle of the kind of the shutdown because of the pandemic. So we need folks to, want to serve on those committees. And I imagine we haven't talked much about it, but I imagine we'll get the intent to bargain letters here at the start of the year.
So do you want like 2 each or 3 each, or how do you want that set
I
up?
think we usually do 3.
So Lane, are you now saying that there's actually going to be 2 now because we missed the one? Is that both together, right? Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So this year will be interesting because we'll have to do for both
Sure.
associations.
Wendy gave us the hand.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, OSCA last year, we had Alyssa and Kent down, so I don't know if you want to continue with that. I just want to let you guys know.
I'm certainly fine with serving after, I mean, we didn't serve because we couldn't. So I'm willing to stick with it.
So Kent is okay with
I am as well.
that.
I'm happy to do that.
Who was the third? Was it George or who was the third? We had third,
I
didn't we?
think it was George.
That's what I was thinking.
Nancy said no, but I don't know who was a backup.
I know there were 3 of us, but I can't remember who. Seems like it was George.
Maybe George was the backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so then if there's a third, that's great, or whatever you guys do.
And the teacher one was me, Melissa, and somebody else, but I forget.
Tim and who?
Melissa.
Well,
Yeah, last time.
And I don't remember. I thought the third was George. Now I'm
I
thinking
think
about it.
it was George.
Could have been.
Was George.
So we need 1 more for OSEA and 1 more for MEA. Correct?
Unless you guys want to do 2, it's your call. And we don't necessarily have to set these tonight. We just need to know,
Okay.
Just remember that's there. And then maybe if somebody else wants to do it, think about it. And in January, when we know it's a go, we can add
Sure.
those people.
And let's do that. So we got so far I got Alyssa and Ken for OSEA. Melissa, I'm assuming Melissa would say yes. Since she's not here, we're going to say yes.
Volunteer.
For she and I to do MEA, and then the rest everybody maybe think about it over the. Because I know it's going to be at the top of your list to be thinking about over the holidays. But think about it if you want to serve, and if not, we just do 2 and 2 if needed,
Yeah.
and then rotate with time.
Sure.
No, and it's fun. We're really lucky to have really, level-headed associations and representation and leadership. So,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Okay. Should we skip building lane, or do you want to?
Yeah, I kind of talked, a little bit about having the buildings open again. We just wrapped up the first quarter. We had conferences last week virtually. It was interesting, the feedback from the staff. It was really positive. They had some really good conversations and were able to connect with parents and families that they haven't in the past because of the online setting. So overall, people are feeling pretty good about the first quarter and connections and building those, continuing those good relationships and building even stronger relationships with parents and families as they support their student doing online learning. Like I said earlier, tomorrow is the last day of classes in session, and then we'll be off until January 4th for winter break. So it's, this is probably in my career, the break I'm looking forward to the most. It's been an interesting year, and I'm sure there's other staff that will attest to that. But I'll also say, man, these guys have been working their tails off, from the teachers to support staff to our office staff. My Lord, the stuff our office staff have done this year. So it's a well-deserved break. So I hope people actually do take some time to rest and recharge and connect with loved ones safely, and hit the ground running in January.
Then recollection was that the calendar that we changed over to, was that more Fridays?
Yeah, there should be some additional Fridays
Okay,
as I think about one a month.
right. Questions on building for anybody? Okay, Wendy. Thank you, Lane.
Okay, for November revenue, we received $816,546. And from July to November revenue, we received 1.5 million. And I just want to give you an idea of what we received last year compared to this year. Last year at this time, we received 1.7. Currently, we're receiving to date less property tax and more state school funding, but December's here, so hopefully our taxes will catch up to us. Maybe people are paying a little bit later because of circumstances. For expenditures, we spent $281,117 in November. Year to date is $1,094,510. Last year at this time, we spent $1,154,185, and so we spent $59,000 less than last year. And I don't know if I know Lane talked about the Hope Project, but I just want to let you all know that today we received the Blue Air check in the mail. We've been waiting for it, so I just want to let you know we received it. We've been waiting for it, so I just didn't know if you guys knew about it or not. That's what I have. Oh, sorry, I forgot about APs. Sorry. District accounts payable, we spent $51,891.22. Payroll, $140,312.38. And I don't have any reports from elementary or high school student body. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a future question. Oh, go ahead, Elaine.
Well, it's a future question also. So are we getting any estimates from the state or anything? I don't know, or the county, I guess, because of so many property losses. Are we getting estimates yet as to what that's going to affect for next year's budget?
Ditto.
Yeah.
Yes, I emailed Lane County, and I will have to budget about 15% less for next year.
Yeah, about 70% of our district value, taxable value, was lost that night. So it's a pretty big shot.
What was that percentage, Lane?
17.
Oh, 17.
To be honest with you, I thought it was going to be, that's bad, but I thought it was going to be worse than that. The other thing I was thinking about too, is I know that we have, there's going to be a lot of building permits and such like that being taken out in the short term. So we'll probably get a little bit of revenue from that, but I don't think it's going to make up that 15%.
No, and then remember, like, even though a lot of structures were lost, the majority of your value is still in your property. So I think, when we first went into that meeting with taxation, I thought the same thing of like, wow, we really lost a lot, but then it's mostly the improvements that were lost. So the property actually holds its value pretty well from how they explained it.
So when you're for building next year's budget, and from now through the meetings that we're going to be having in the spring, is that something that you and Lane build together to cut that 15% out of X places, and then the committee reviews all of that, and in the end have a balanced budget?
Yes, Lane and I will need to be talking probably next week or tomorrow about it. We can decide tomorrow on how to move forward a little bit, and so I can submit everything to the state.
Okay.
We're also hopeful. There's been talk, but there hasn't been any numbers put down. But I think in this special session too, they were supposed to talk about some kind of stabilization funds for us, Santiam Canyon and Phoenix Talent. So, you know, when we know what that sort of relief might be, that might help some of these discussions going into building the budget. But yeah, it is getting to, thanks for the reminder. It is getting into the budget season. So fun stuff.
So the state may give us some sort of, give our district specifically because we're fire victims, give us some sort of a special funding for 1 or 2 years for the next round of budgetary stuff.
Yeah, that's the hope, is that they'll work with us to try to stabilize things.
Right.
Because I know some of the other districts are seeing, you know, big swing. You know, when you look at it with our ADM, you know, 20 kids, you know, looks small. That's 10%. Like it's a swing there. And I think the message that I hope the 3 superintendents were able to convey, and then, you know, COSA and OSBA was able to convey as well, as like, it's not just a next year thing. It's going to be, you know, 3, 4, 5-year thing.
Right.
So hopefully they hear that we still need that support over those years, but it's just kind of up to them to make the decisions, and we'll work with what we get and be thankful for the support that we get.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Wendy. Bond report, Wayne. You're muted.
Thank you. So let's see, this will be pretty quick. So the facilities committee met last night. So we reviewed the election results just to kind of get that fresh on our minds. We also reviewed the original scope of the work that was outlined in the previous bond. And then we also discussed future public engagement meetings. Due to the, you know, as we got into that discussion, due to the challenges around, you know, internet connectivity in the area and COVID, because we, you know, it's not like we could just open up the gym and jam it full of people. We decided that we should probably hold off on the large scale kind of public engagement meetings until after the first of the year, hopefully to give, you know, CenturyLink and Charter some time to get out and start connecting people. Because the last thing we want to do is start public engagement in a way that people can't engage with, because that's almost worse than, you know, not doing it, I think. So we'll be meeting again December 11th, the committee will, and then out of that meeting we should have some agreement about kind of what we want, the process we want to follow, and then have a schedule put together for that community engagement. So it was an interesting meeting, because I think like people are still very optimistic, but then still it's the rebuilding due to the fire is still very like upfront in their thinking, as it should be. And so that optimism that we had even right after the fire has been kind of tempered, which I think is good. Like, I think it's good for people to really have a full understanding of what we're up against as a community. But then also, you know, this can be a good thing, some hope, some light into a kind of dark time. So nobody thought it was a bad idea, and everybody agrees that there's still work that needs to be done on the school facilities, things that could help in events like this. So, you know, we'll have more of a schedule and procedure outline for you guys next month.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Lane, the facilities and all that kind of stuff happened before I was involved in it. So could you just give me a brief deal? Who's on the facility committee, and are you guys kind of just still working with like what was already done and figuring out how you're going to revamp all the work that's already been done?
Yeah, I can send you that list, and I can invite you to the next meeting if you want to be.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to get a little more deeper information and what's going on.
Yeah, so pretty much we're still working with the architect that we worked with to do the facility assessment, long range planning, and kind of the seismic assessment. Oh, that's another thing I forgot on my report. We did submit the seismic retrofit grant application this week. So Soderstrom submitted that for us, which is great. And hopefully if that goes through, that'd be another 2.5 million to seismically upgrade the old gym. So yeah, so there's a range of community members who are on it. We have facility folks, Jason's on it on the tech end. And we're working with that architect to put together another idea of what we'd like to present. And then also with this public engagement, we really need to get a feel for what the community would want to see. We did that last time, and because of COVID, we weren't able to do it as much justice as we would have wanted. Like as we got into March, we had a series of 3 public meetings that we had planned, but then because of the shutdown, those didn't happen. So I think finding, now that people have worked in this virtual setting and people know a little bit more about how to do the tricks to manage large groups, I think we'll have a little bit more knowledge base to work from to actually have worthwhile public engagement. So it's exciting. So I think all the things that we identified in the facilities report, they're all real needs. They're all justifiable. It's just seeing what the community is drawn to and what they want to invest in.
Lane, I can't remember what we paid Swordstrom, I'm sure I'm butchering their name, but it seems like we've more than got our money's worth from them. How long are they going to keep supporting us through this process?
They've been actually pretty wonderful. And so we've paid them quite a bit through that TAP grant.
Okay.
And then we haven't necessarily had that discussion yet. They've just rushed in and offered to help keep moving this forward. That's a great question, James, that I need to actually sit down and say, all right, Marlene, where are we going? And
maybe you don't want to remind them. I don't know.
Okay. Well, no, we've got so the TAP grant runs through the end of this year.
Okay.
So any of the stuff that we were doing up to this point, I think is covered under that grant, but we do need to figure out what their arrangement will be. They were pretty awesome. Like right after the fire, they had donated I think $5,000 to the Education Foundation, to their wildfire relief fund. So they're really invested in our community, and we really appreciate their technical know-how and their support. And Marlene's been up, and we walked and looked at the grandstands and the concession stand, and we're talking about what we can do and what we can do with the insurance funding, and how we can get something close to what we had. We had a pretty unique grandstand, and it was something that there was a lot of community pride around. So if we can find a way to restore those losses in a way that we can all feel proud about again too. So that work happening with them as well.
I agree. I think they've been phenomenal, and I've been really impressed with how much support they provided through the whole process.
Yeah. All right. So stay tuned in January.
All right. Thanks, Lane. Any other questions on the bond? Okay. Board goals. I guess my name on there. Lane, if I need help, you'll jump in here. Basically, first off, I wanted to just say that we kind of put all the board goals on hold, kind of when COVID started, and certainly when the fire came through, and been, I think, from my perspective, been more in a reactive mode than a proactive mode due to those major issues that are going on. But kind of trying, now that we're kind of, I don't know, at a pause point, kind of to go back and look at those things. And I went back and looked at some of our documents, of which there's 3, one of which was a strategic plan document that expired in 2018, and we never did put another strategic plan document in place at that time. The SIA, the Student Investment Account Plan, which has a number of goals in it, which we all looked at. I think it was last year, Lane, wasn't it? That we went through and approved that. And then the last one was a SIP, which was also last year, as I recall. There's a bunch of goals there. So anyway, with all 3 documents, there's a total of 14 goals that the board and that Lane and others look at and work off of. And Lane and I off and on over the last 6 months or a year have been talking about taking those and trying to combine them into one document. Officially, there are 3 documents and always will be, but to make things easier for everybody to try to take the redundancy between those documents and create a set of goals to make it easier for everybody to kind of understand the direction the district is going, where we want it to go, and how we want it to get there. Some of which is board level stuff, and some of which is superintendent leadership. And in thinking about it, the short-term goals, meaning this school year, which would help Lane with what he needs to do for this year. And in my taking this reading over to him, and I'm not even sure if the bond is on any of those things. I don't think, but I mean, clearly the bond in the May election is a good short-term goal. I think the educational plan of the CDL currently and how is that going to shift back, and what outside factors cause us to shift that back to in-classroom learning, which it seems in the literature over the last couple of months that I've been reading is that the CDL for a lot of districts and a lot of students just is not the same as face-to-face education. And then of course you got, the midterm type stuff, which is several years out, and long-term is even longer than that. So having said that, I had emailed, I know it was a short notice, I think I emailed it on Monday, those 3 documents to everybody. And I don't know if anybody had time to kind of go through that. Elaine's the only one who really had to do catch up on that. But with all those goals, did anybody put any thought into like specifically short-term goals between now and the end of this school year, and then maybe continue this conversation into January and February, talk about more of like the midterm and long-term goals and how we can kind of put this stuff together. So does anybody have any thoughts, comments on any of those things? And Lane, did I explain that correctly?
Yes, I get it. And I've worked on several CDIP plans when I was working at the school. So all this stuff looked familiar to me, and it is all redundant. I mean, it's like you're basically saying the same thing, given what the state's asking for or what a particular application's asking for. And yeah, I think somehow maybe in a concise way, when we want to present something to the public, or in finding our ways of finding ways to support the administration and staff as a board, one of the things that just totally jumped out at me is how many of this, when it says persons responsible, it was always the superintendent / principal. And we all know that that's basically one person. And so I'm looking at ways that the board, as I was looking at that, ways that the board can then support that aspect of it, and also the getting things out to the public aspect.
Right. I was writing that down. Okay.
So as you review those documents, like I know, like when those were written, the world was a little bit different place. So also as you're looking at those, keep the lens of this, those were pre-COVID, pre-fire. The funding level in SIA is about a third or so of what they said we were going to get. So I know part of the process why we didn't go into doing another kind kind of what was that first document that expired in the strategic plan? Why we didn't go through a big strategic plan was because we had that SIP coming and the SIA coming, and hopefully minimize and streamline. So keep that in mind, that those were written when things were a little different, and funding levels are a little different as well. So sorry to intrude in your guys' discussion, but I wanted to keep that in your mind.
All right. Other comments? So would it help folks if I took those documents and got rid of some redundancy and maybe started to create just kind of an unofficial, for now, unofficial document that kind of outlines some short-term and medium-term goals stemming from those three documents? Or if anybody else wants to do that, it's fine by me, by the way. To do those things, or to do maybe some sort of a subcommittee and then bring that back to the full board for review.
Tim, I'd be interested in helping you along those lines. I imagine you're going to have to do a new continuous improvement plan soon. Is this they're really only 1 year old anymore?
So part of what I think the state was hoping to do before COVID was, and it's also in the kind of the bylaws, is they're supposed to minimize redundancy. And so what they were hoping to do is migrate the SIP to the SIA. So when you look at the SIA plan, a lot of those elements are the same, because they were wanting to replace that with the SIA. So the SIA is actually supposed to be like a 4-year document that you review every 2 years. So they haven't given a whole lot of clear, timing on, SIP and, the SIA process, besides just trying to get it done and get budgets adjusted and moving forward. So, but yeah, we will have to do a midway review of our SIA goals, and then start the process of building another one after those two are up.
It'd sure be nice if they'd migrate the 100-page SIA into the 8-page SIP.
Yeah. I'd just be happy if we just had to hand in one thing. And I think we're getting there.
So SIP is next year, Lane? The new SIP?
I'm hopeful that SIP will just be a part of SIA.
Oh, got it. Okay, I didn't understand that. Okay, so the state will allow that to be embedded,
I think
that's their goal,
that's their hope.
and
Yeah.
that process is supposed to be next school year. The beginning of that process is supposed to be next school year.
I believe so. That would be after this year of implementation.
Right.
So I'll put that down in the review to give you guys clear timelines on that. Sorry, I'm foggy on timelines.
That's all right. I am too. But I'm over 60.
Is there a place where did you guys do do you do board goals every year? And if you did some last year, what the current ones are, is that posted on the website, someplace where I can look them over?
I don't know. I think last year, my recollection was last year, the goals got somewhat delayed, and we had just developed some lane goals, but not necessarily school-wide type goals. And I think that was 2 years ago, and I'm not sure if I don't think that's online anywhere.
No, I think the hope was to be able to use the SIP goals and the SIA goals to be the goals. So then that way we weren't adding another layer of goals. So then instead of having the 14 goals, then we would have added another 3 or 4 and then had 18 goals. So yeah, I don't think that ever got formally codified for the annual board goals this year. And the hope was, that's why Tim and I started talking about this as we got into August. We were supposed to talk about goals in the September meeting, but then we had a wildfire. So, but yeah, I'll look, Elaine. I think at one point Nancy did a really nice job of compiling all of the board goals for the past, I think it was like 10 years. And so that
Wow.
might be a good document to share. I think I have it somewhere that I can share with you guys as well.
So Elaine, you want to take the lead on this?
I think I would be a little nervous taking a lead on it, but I'm really happy to work with somebody on it.
Maybe
If you want to.
would you, Elaine and Lane and me and anybody else is interested to sit down some point in the next, well, I guess after we come back in January, to start that process and just kind of have maybe an hour-long quick meet just to kind of start that process going and starting with the short term this year and then moving off into next year and the following year.
I would be fine with that.
Okay, I'll make a note and I'll text everybody. I think Lane's schedule is probably more compacted than both of ours, so we'll kind of go with that way. Is that okay?
I'm very flexible.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So moving on, action item. Oh, any questions on any of that? Okay. Moving on to the action items, the LESD transit dollar request. Lane.
Yeah, so this is one I feel really bad about, guys. So this is, so if you look, this is something we're supposed to do every year. And it's something that was supposed to be done there in October, and we forgot to put it on the agenda. But pretty much what it is it's what page is like page 12 of your packet. We just have to let the ESD know how much of the transfer funds that we might request. And so as a full, component member of the ESD, they get a percentage of our ADMW weighted funds to be able to do their operations. Law allows districts to take funds out. We typically don't, because if we get into a spot where we have a high need student, or because we don't have a medically fragile program on campus, or behavioral, severe behavioral support program on campus, or the ability to fund a full-time school psychologist for testing, we usually keep our funds within the ESD. So this just lets them budget and let them know. So this is just us telling them that we won't pull more than half of those funds.
So we need to.
Yeah, I remember us going over this every year, and this looks familiar. And I guess I would move that we approve the Lane ESD school district transfer dollar request for fiscal year 2021.
Second.
Okay, so James moved to adopt the LESD transit dollar request 2021-2022, and Kent seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Thanks, Lane.
Yeah,
Moving on.
Sorry that fell off the radar, guys.
What was going on?
Yeah. All right, school board comments.
I have a comment. It was too late to get it on the agenda, but the McKenzie Education Foundation received, we've received quite a bit of funding right now, some from great support. One of them early on, though, was United Way donated $20,000 to us. And we we received a request from the school district to help with the distant learning centers, and the McKenzie Education Foundation did approve a $20,000 donation to the school to support those two centers. We also realize that teachers are having a lot of out-of-pocket expenses because of this distance learning. So we've approved when a teacher applies, all they have to do is send us an email, and we're giving them a $200 check to be able to use to offset some of those costs. And we're looking at probably trying to do that again in the springtime, because we know that there's just a lot of expenses that are coming out of just mailing stuff and all kinds of things. So we're just asking them just to send us an email, give us their address, tell us what they intend to use the funds for, and we're sending them a check. So I know they've been really busy. We've only had 2 requests so far. So Lane, if we can just send out another email reminding them, and tell them there's 2 forms in there. There's one is just a super short form. The other form was if somebody had like a big project that they wanted to do. It's our normal deal. So if they saw that, they'd probably be scared to death, saying, I don't want to do that for $200. So it's just a simple short form. The other thing is that we are going to be Sunday, I guess they're doing some sort of Christmas giveaway thing. The McKenzie Education Foundation, we're going to we'll have a booth there. We're trying to get ideas from the families and community as to really how to best get these funds that we're getting out to the community in a purposeful way. Again, knowing that this is a long haul situation and not a short-term thing. So we don't want to just distribute money out to families if we need to figure out what's going to be in the long term. So we're going to try to get some community feedback on ideas like that. So, because we've just getting little and big contributions all along. And I know that these people who are contributing want to get this money out to families and best use that way, but we want to be purposeful.
Hey, Lane, I have a question for you. I think it's for you, maybe. In the last 3 or 4 years, the MEA, and they probably just couldn't this year, but isn't it the MEA that's put out the calendar?
Yes, they did. And we had a nice project going before COVID where Margaret was going to be working with one of the classrooms, and they're going to do field trip and look at all the nice old historic signs that were out, and then they were going to help pick the pictures and help do the captions and such, and then COVID hit. So there won't be a calendar this year.
That's perfectly fine. We've always purchased about 20 of them, and even the year itself just has blown by. And I mean, I just thought of it a couple of days ago that we always supply all of our places, our Riverside cabins, with those and so forth. But I was 90% sure that probably wasn't the case, but I didn't want to miss it if it was. But no problem. Very, very understandable. So thank you.
Another project that they're working on is looking at ways that we're going to be telling the story, a community-wide way of telling the story of the Holiday Farm fire, and we're looking at ways how that's going to look. We're working with historical societies and things like that to get these stories, get items and such like that there would actually maybe be a display, a movable display, a portable one to use to document this historic event.
Well, I'll go next. I don't necessarily have good news. So months back, we got a resignation from George, and I think we were all concerned we wouldn't find anybody good, and we were fortunate enough to get Elaine. I'm actually this will be my last board meeting. I've just taken on too many duties at work, and talked to Tim today, and I didn't get off the other meetings till close to 5 today. And it's just been nonstop, and I did not prepare at all for the meeting today. And I think you guys deserve somebody more fully engaged than I have been, especially the last couple of meetings, and I don't see it any better in the future. So I will be submitting a letter of resignation. I want to let everybody know about that. And thank you for everything you've done. I wish you guys the best, and I hope to still stay engaged supports the school, just maybe not through the board.
Thank you, James. That you'll certainly be missed as a board member. You're a
I
good
think
board member.
you'll find somebody much better, more engaged in right now. And like I said, hopefully there's another Lane out there, because I think she's added a lot to the board.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, James, for your service on the school board for all these years. I appreciate it as a parent, and I appreciate watching your kids grow up. So thanks for taking the time and making the time. It's a little bit of a lift. And just know that I appreciate all the effort that you've put into this group, and actively participating with feedback and areas of concern is extremely important. So I just want you to know that I thank you.
Thanks, Patience.
With that, I do have a couple things that I wanted to bring up. One of them, Lane, there's this hazard mitigation dollars that are closing soon. So the first round only requires a letter of intent, closes on January 15th. And what I'm looking for is really mitigating our risk against the next wildfire and fuel allocation. The school district has a fuel hub, and there's a generator, and I know first responders really struggled with getting access to that and being able to pump fuel. Maybe there's a way, using these hazard mitigation dollars, we could put together some sort of grant package to fund retrofitting that for the future, so that if it does lose power, we can utilize that facility to fuel apparatus. The letter of intent is like 2 pages, so I don't know what Lacey's up to, but the state will tell us if it's an eligible project or not. The second round of funds is open until closes in April. It's $400 million in funding. So it's like,
Let me know what your calendar looks like tomorrow or Friday, potentially. If that doesn't work, we'll touch bases on Monday. Could you have a better understanding of how to make these pieces fit? And when you say things like hazard mitigation, you know what that also means beyond just like clearing out hazards. So let me know if you would be willing to have a chat, and we can get that done.
okay.
I apologize for that. It shows you how busy I am. My secretary called in the middle with a kind of emergency at one of our cabins. But anyway, I'm so sorry. And then I don't know if anybody noticed, I tried to drag my laptop off the table when I cut the cord going out. But back to James. Thank you, James, so much. I didn't even hear. I think someone else was thanking you, but been a great asset to the board, and you will be dearly missed, and just have enjoyed so much working with you. I know we will be seeing you around the community and your dear family, and you guys just mean the world to us. So thank you so much. And sorry I interrupted what you were saying with my silly cell phone. I guess that's the world we live in. But thank you. We love you, and keep up the good work out there doing what you're doing. Thanks.
Thanks, Kent. And like I said, this isn't the last you'll see of me, just maybe in this meeting.
And actually, the counter reminded me, Patience, thank you for the cards that you put together. That was really nice artwork on the front of those. That was good, at least in my short time here on the board, some of the best cards I've seen. So thank you for doing all that.
Absolutely. A little touch, right? Goes a long ways. Personal touch. I hope everybody had a chance to sign them. I actually turned them all in and didn't sign them myself, but it's okay. I was in a hurry.
Did you have another part of what you were going to say, Patience, before I asked about scheduling?
One thing for Elaine, we are forming a long-term recovery group, and it's really going to focus on the recovery efforts in the McKenzie River area for the Holiday Farm Fire. And I strongly encourage McKenzie Education District to join that group so that you better understand about how your funds could be funneled into that group, and we will identify needs and you'll be able to be a part of the overall effort. So Lane County is hiring a long-term recovery manager. I hope to have that person on board in the next couple of weeks. And we're also forming a nonprofit through the COAD, Community Organizations Active in Disaster. And United Way will be really our fiscal agent, but we'll have an unmet needs committee. And the unmet needs committee will receive anybody that presents that has a need that the faith-based nonprofit and other entities could potentially fill that need. So I need to help. I need a couch, or I need some dollars so I can buy a laptop so I can go to school, those kinds of things. So I encourage you to look through that group. And you said something spot on. Try not to give the money away just because we have to, but hold on to it for the long-term recovery effort that's coming. We're not going to build the town in 2 months. It's going to take 18 months to really start to see some of our efforts come to fruition. And that long-term recovery manager position will be on deck for 2 years. And hopefully we'll be able to put a lot of this together for us.
And Patience, I'm sorry, I didn't have my pen handy. So can you give me, or could you email me information on that group?
I sure will.
And the like?
Other comments?
I did have one more. I almost forgot. Lane talked about it last month. The OSBA did that video that showed Xochitl Diaz. Well, they've done a whole combination one, and Lane, you were great in it. That whole thing, if you guys haven't seen it, it is extremely powerful. It talks about all the different communities of the fires and how it's affected the schools and the population. It's really well done.
That it was, or it is. Okay.
I think we should have a link to it on our webpage, because it's really good. Both versions, the one with Xochitl in it and then the one that may be the completed one.
That's a very good idea. I'm sure Lane, you'll see to that.
Sorry, I was making a note of that. Yeah, we can.
Very nice.
We can do that.
Okay. Our next meeting is on January 20th. Everybody have a nice holiday, obviously, through there. It's kind of tough times, obviously, in the valley here, but it's nice to have this time of year with the lights and all that kind of stuff. That kind of reminds us of what used to be and what will be, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody want to move to?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
You were saying, so Kent moved to adjourn our meeting at 6:42. James seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a nice holiday.
Hi.
Yeah. See you next year.
Yeah, see you next year. 2020's got to be better, right?
Gotta be better.
Hey, Tim, can you give me,
Thank you.
the very beginning times on the meeting and the first motion?
It was 5:30 on the dot.
Okay.
And
And who approved the consent agenda?
I think I moved and I think James seconded.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. I missed those because I couldn't get volume on my laptop. So Wendy rescued me with hers.
Very nice. Yeah, well, you're listed as Wendy and Wendy's listed as Wendy. I don't know how that happened, but.
It's because they're both hers. Okay. We're done.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.